All right, let's get back here. So much love. I think it's amazing. All right, well, thanks again for having me again. I heard some good news that you voted in a pastor last week. Is that right? Woo! That's good for you. And me, yeah, and me. No, it's not good for me. But it's great for you. So congratulations. I think that's amazing. Looking forward to hearing what God does through this person, but ultimately how they lead you to be able to do the work of God in the middle of your town. So that's great. All right, this morning we're going to be kind of settling into Luke chapter 15, okay? Luke chapter 15. And this morning, this is a text that has really shaped my life, that makes me think a lot, and that honestly I struggle with, to be honest with you. Because it's really about good and bad, or bad and good. How many of you find, and my day-to-day so my day job, I'm the director of HR at a trucking company, okay? So part of HR, if you know, is some people are like, well, boo, HR, you just hug people and drink coffee and talk to people all day. While that is true, I do those things. There's a lot more to it. But what I do get to see is people. There's a lot of people. We have about 500 employees. Some don't think like me, act like me, want to be like me, and thank goodness for that. And we have other folks in our company that are incredible and good, and other people that we have some issues with at times. But I chalk it up to it just being people. You know what I mean? Like people are people are people are people. And no matter where you go, you're going to find all of that. When I was pastoring, and I was, for those that don't know, I pastored for about 20 years, full-time. Still have credentials, still do that. That's why I'm doing this. All good. Don't worry. It's not just, didn't just find some, curly-haired bum off the street and said, go speak to this church. That was not the deal. But I found the same when I was pastoring too. Right? You had people who had a lot of issues, people that were doing pretty good. But when it came to pastoring, what I found was people either held themselves back from God or thought that God owed them a bunch of things. I ran into a lot of people that had a hard time darkening the door of the church. And you might have friends, family, whatever, that feel that way. They think, no, I can't do it. Does anybody watch The Office here? Anybody enjoy The Office? Oh, yeah. The Office, one of my favorite shows on the planet. There's one episode where there's something going on in a church, and Toby, the annoying HR guy, can't go into the church. He just can't. He struggles, he walks up, and finally, he ends up going in and like, hey, he talks to God and is basically like, what's your problem with me, man? I remember one time when I was pastoring, there was, I pastored in this very small town in Newfoundland, and we'd have Sunday morning and Sunday night service. Remember you used to do that, Sunday morning, Sunday night service? Yeah. So we'd have Sunday night service, and I was speaking, and there was this group of people in the back. They grew up in the community. They didn't say that I wouldn't say that they would say that they were Christians, but they came to church because it was entertaining, I guess, right? So they would sit at the back, and I would hear them talk all the time. Like they just chitter-chatter. And for me, I'm good. Doesn't bug me. If you're here, like even for people, some pastors get really annoyed when people fall asleep. I just think that's amazing. Like you feel safe enough to fall asleep? Good for you. Like we all need rest. You obviously got a busy life, So for me, that stuff has never bothered me. But these guys would be all making jokes, and obviously it would, distract people be annoyed, whatever it was. So then one Sunday, though, one of those people, somebody came to me and said, hey, this person is going through a really hard time, and they want to give their lives to Jesus. And this group of people was like every 6 months they would, come and give their life to Jesus and then go do whatever they wanted anyway, so it's fine. So I said, oh, okay, cool. Well, great. Well, let me talk to him. So I start talking to him. He says, oh, yeah, I want to give my life to the Lord. I say, that's amazing. He goes, I can't though. I said, why? Because I smoke. I said, oh, okay. You can't give your life to the Lord because you smoke. He's like, yeah. I got to give up smoking first because I'm not good enough to be around God yet. I got to stop smoking first, and then I'll give my life to the Lord. And I said to this person, you know the Bible doesn't actually say that, right? And he said, well, what do you mean? Because he'd been taught his whole life, like, unless you give up this and stop doing that and do all these other things, you can't even think about becoming a Christian. And I took him to the book of Ephesians, and it says very clearly there, you're saved by grace through faith, not by works that anybody should boast. Now, do I believe in smoking? No. Don't do it. You'll die. Am I right? Yeah. Science has showed us this. Doctors have told us to stop it, right? So don't. And I looked at this guy and I said, does it say you're saved by grace through faith if you stop smoking? He said, no. And I said, so what's the problem then? We believe that God can raise somebody from the dead. Pretty sure he can help you to stop smoking. This man, bundled his fists together like he was going to hit me. And I looked at him and I said, what's going on? And he started shaking and ran out of the church. Didn't see him again for a while. Anyway, I'm doing a funeral, okay? I'm doing this funeral. And in Newfoundland, I don't know if it was like this here, but in Newfoundland, you have particular denominational cemeteries. There's the Anglican cemetery and the Catholic cemetery and the Pentecostal cemetery. The Pentecostal cemetery is the best one because there's all kind of music there all the time. Like we have speak. No, I'm lying. That's not true. There's a bunch of dead people, so don't worry. Same kind of cemetery as the Anglican one, so whatever. But anyway, so there's a funeral. We go into do this internment. It's kind of like towards the end of winter. And I do the internment, whatever, fine. I leave, and I'm walking towards the parking lot, and I feel these two hands on my shoulder. And somebody's trying to throw me in the snow. Huh. I mean, look at me. I'm like a fridge. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to just push me around. So I kind of put my foot down. I look back, and guess who it was? This guy. And he's trying to throw me in the snow. And I said, what is your problem? He goes, as long as you're the pastor at that church, I will never go back. And I said, well, that's sad. This guy was convinced that his badness, what he considered bad, was enough to not be good enough to actually connect with God. And at some point, we all agree with that, right? Like, we can be pretty clear on what the bad things are, right? Like, somebody that fornicates a lot, somebody that, is all into drugs, people that do all these awful things, cheat taxes, like all the bad stuff, we're pretty clear on. And most people, especially folks that you work with and go to school with or in your families, the reason why lots of them don't think they can actually come towards the Lord, why? Is because they think their badness is so bad that they can't even be in God's presence. You know what else I learned about pastoring? This is always fun to me. People would try to stay away from God because they just thought my badness is too bad to be around God. But then I always found Christians, quote unquote, that thought that their goodness was so good that God owed them. Ever meet somebody like that? I have done everything right. I am righteous. I follow the law of the Lord. I do everything I need to do. And when life starts to turn a little bit, they get real offended. God, where are you? I've gone to church every day of my life. And my kids don't follow you? What's the matter with you? You owe me. We don't say it like that, But that's what goes on in our hearts. And the tragedy is even those folks that do all the good, their good actually is the thing that causes them not to be able to be close to God. This morning, the reason why we're talking about this is because, you voted in a new pastor. Amazing. But that person's role is to actually lead you out into the highways and the byways, as they used to say, to help you understand and to see that the people that surround you are actually, both sets of people are lost. And they desperately need people to intervene and to tell them that there's a loving God that wants them. No matter how bad they are, and no matter how good they think they are. Luke chapter 15 is really interesting. If you go to verse 1 with me, it sets the context for who Jesus is speaking to, okay? It starts out like this, Luke 15. Now the tax collectors and the sinners were gathering around to hear Jesus. So that's the first layer, right? So in that context, tax collectors are horrible human beings that steal money from their very own people, okay? It's worse than CRA. It's worse. You don't get it taken off your income tax. This is like they show up at your house, say that you need to pay tax, and then say you need to pay me more because I don't like you. That might be CRA sometimes too, but that's fine. These people are deplorable. Nobody wants to be with them. Nobody wants to be around them. That's why stories in the Bible like Zacchaeus is a big one, because this guy's a tax collector. He's basically a thug. A short thug stealing people. Like Kevin Hart. Think Kevin Hart. That's what we're going for, okay? So these are the folks that Jesus is speaking to, but then the interesting part is in verse 2, but the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. So you have the first layer, which are people who most of the world would say they're too bad to be with God. And then you have the Pharisees that are there muttering around saying, this is Jesus. He hangs out with bad people. But the second layer are people that think they are too good to be with those people. And Jesus starts speaking these parables, and he's making a point to both audiences, okay? The first bit, you'll see, he starts talking about the lost sheep. And then he talks about the lost coin. But then he gets to a story in verse 11 about the lost son. Verse 11, and this is what it says. Jesus continues. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. This was a big statement for a son in that time to make. He is the younger son. And so there's 2 sons. You'll meet the other son in the rest of the story. But the way it worked in Jewish society at the time was if you were a firstborn son, you got 2/3 of the inheritance. Okay? It's a double portion. The younger son got 1/3. This son ends up saying to his dad, all right, listen. I basically wish you were dead, okay? Just give me my money. Leave me alone. I don't want to be with you. See you later. Now, the people that would have heard that, right? The tax collectors and sinners and the Pharisees, all of them would have heard it and been like, this dad needs to beat this child. Like, what are you talking about? It's like going up to your own father and saying to them, like, I just wish you were dead. Give me my money now. Don't want to have anything to do with you. See you later. Have a nice life. I actually just hope that you die. The response should be something violent from this dad. And yet it's not. Right? You read it and the father gives it to him. Gives him his portion. Gives him the 1/3 of it. Says, all right, here we go. And notice it says the estate, the share of my estate. So he divided the property between them. He didn't have the cash. It wasn't just liquid. He had to liquidate assets. And in that culture, your land represented who you are. The more land you had, the more successful you were. Kind of like Saskatchewan. It's a joke, people. It's a joke. That's all right. So you're okay. You're okay. You know, people that bought quarter sections of land in the 80s for $25,000, God bless you. Share the wealth. You know, and that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, yeah, share the wealth. So here, this dad goes beyond just, it's not just a statement of, okay, well, cute. All right, son, you're going to learn a lesson. He literally goes and sells land, gives him his third, and says, see you later. And the son says, thank you, and goes. Verse 13. Not long after that, the younger son got together all that he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. That's always fun. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him to the field, to his field to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against you, sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. So a few things here which are really interesting. This guy goes, sows his wild oats, does whatever he wants, loses all his money, there's a famine, he can't afford to feed himself, gets hired on, is feeding pigs, and thinks, oh, surely there's a better life than this. And notice, he doesn't say, I have to go home. He says what? I have to go back to who? My father. So he does. But before he does, he comes up with a whole speech. And he says, look, Dad, he's practicing it in the mirror. You ever done this? Like, all right, this is how it's going to go. And so people are laughing hard because you probably do this every day. Like, I'm beautiful. I'm amazing. I am He-Man. You know, like whatever you say to yourself in the morning. I don't know, whatever it is. Affirmations. So he practices this speech and says, this is what's going to go on. And he says, I'm not worthy enough to be in your house, to be called a son, but just make me a hired hand, basically. The funny thing is, lots of times we think that this is a slave inside of some kind of country house on the estate. It's actually not. What happens here is these hired hands are ultimately people that live off of the estate. They are hired, and they make a living from that. And actually, what his intent is to pay his dad back. So the idea here is ultimately, I am going to earn my way back into being your son. I will pay back this 1/3. Well, he sets up the speech. And how many of you that look at yourself in the morning and walk out your speeches, they always go as planned? Anybody? Yeah, no, not me. They never do. So he ends up going back. So he says in verse 20, he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. This is also wild. At this time, they're wearing long robes, right? So it was common for children, for women to maybe run. Maybe, young men, run. Older men didn't do it. Because it would be a little bit embarrassing. You know what I mean? Like, you got to lift up this skirt thing. You got to try to run. If you're a full-grown man, you don't want to look, you don't look weird. So men didn't do it. And ultimately, what should be, like, if it was my son, okay, coming back, I'd be like, oh, yeah. I'm away here. Oh, look at him. His head's hung low. It should be low. Told ya. How dare you? You want me dead? Well, I'm very alive, and you look like a mess. Right? Like, that would be, that, I think naturally that's kind of where we're at. Like, oh, wait till he comes here. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. This father doesn't do that. He sees his son who had wished him dead, thought he was dead, and out of pure compassion for his son, he runs. And he does something that is so, like, embarrassing. You ever see a full-grown man just like, oh, it's so good to see, like get giddy? This is what it's like. It is beyond embarrassing, right? And so the people that are listening to the story are like, this man, what kind of dad is this? But he runs to his son, he embraces him, he takes him in his arms. And so the son says to him, and he kisses him, verse 21, the son said to him, Father, and he's trying to do the speech now, you know what I mean? He's like, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. So he's trying to do the speech. Verse 22, but the father said to his servant, quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger, so the symbol of him being a son. Every family had a signet ring. And so the way that you underwrote contracts was you put some wax down. You ever see this in a movie? And then you would put the signet ring into the wax or ink or whatever it was. That's how they would do it. And so he says, get him the robe, put on the ring. My son's home. This should not be the response of this dad. And yet it is. He says, put a ring on his finger, sandals on his feet, bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. The fattened calf also wasn't something that commonly got done, okay? Like, at the time, it's not like you can just go to Independent or Safeway or whatever and just pick up some steak. Like, most of the time, most meals were actually very vegetarian because actually meat was so expensive. And so you had to be somebody of means to be able to do this. And when you killed a fattened calf, it wasn't just for you and yours and your family. It was for the whole town. Everybody came. It's time to celebrate. This is a party. This is a big deal. My son's home. This son was convinced that his badness, his unworthiness, was something that had to create a barrier between him and his dad. To the point where he thought, if I want to be a son again, the only way I can do this is by earning it. So I will work and I will toil and I will do what I need to do. But I'm not worthy enough to be your son. I can be a servant, but I can't be your son. And the father says, no, you're my son. Jesus is trying to make a point here, not only about grace, but on the fact that what you have done, because remember who he's talking to, tax collectors and sinners. He's telling these people, look, your badness is not so bad that it can actually hold you back from the Father that loves you. He wants you. He wants to know you. He wants to be in relationship with you. He wants to care for you. And no matter how much you've spit in his face, no matter how much you've pushed him aside, no matter how much you've rejected him or said, I don't want to have anything to do with you, the fact that you are even showing your face here, he is absolutely, utterly pleased and wants to wrap you in his arms, love you, and care for you and call you his. And we can say it, oh, the sinners and the tax collectors are sitting there listening to that, and that was speaking to them 100%, but that's also true 2,000 years later for whoever is hearing me speak. Some people, you think that if you just come to church enough, like, oh, you don't know the stuff that I'm dealing with. I just come to church because it's just one way that I can feel like I can actually earn my way back to God because of all the things I've done. I do XYZ because, I'm good enough to be a servant. I don't know about a son. But maybe if I do enough good things, or actually, do the right thing, maybe God will be pleased enough with me that he'll actually want me to be around. Maybe a little bit. It doesn't matter how much you have done in your past. It doesn't matter how much you have even said words about God that in your heart that might be completely against him. He still wants you. And it doesn't matter how good you are or how much good you try to do or how much you say you will repay him back. There is nothing in the world that he wants from you. There's nothing that you can give to an amazing God to earn your way back. I mean, think about that. God owns literally everything, and you're like, if I go to church a little bit, maybe you'll like me. There's not enough going to church. There's not enough doing good that could ever earn your way back to an incredible God. You would have to do, it's impossible for a human being to do it. That's why grace is so amazing. Because you see what the Father did here? He just gives him a gift that he doesn't deserve. And that's exactly what God does for all of us. He gives us this incredible gift that says, look, nice try. Any parents in the house? Your kids do something bad and then they bring you a popsicle stick figure. I'm so sorry, Dad. Yeah, you broke a window. You think the popsicle stick's going to pay for the window? No, it's not. But you understand what the child is trying to do, right? So you say, it's okay, honey. Because if it was literally tit for tat, you'd be like, no, listen, you're gonna work, you're gonna do the dishes, you're gonna mow the lawn, you're gonna do everything you need to do to repay me for this window. But this child can't pay you back. And as nice as the popsicle stick man is, that someday will be burnt in a fire because it just takes up room in your house. Yes, I am that parent. Every 6 months, I used to take all the McDonald's toys and throw them in the garbage. What do you need these for? Ronald McDonald? Who cares? Pokemon? I don't care. Here we go. Throw it out. It's going to hurt me. If you're here today and you just think, man, I just wish, I could, I'm so bad. There's so many things I've done. You don't even know. I'm trying to do my best to just kind of live this life so that God will actually accept me. You stop it. God accepts you. He wants you. He died for you, in fact. Stop trying to do the popsicle stick men things for a great God that has already said, I love you and I want you. Just accept it. And it's out of that will absolutely change your whole life. That's why it's called amazing grace. Because there's nothing that you could ever earn or ever win over yourself. It's God's free gift to you. You don't have to do anything for it. And by the way, that's what's so categorically different from Christianity and other religions, by the way. Every other religion, you have to earn your way to the God. You have to have enough good to prove you're worthy enough. Christianity is the only one that says, you know what? No. You don't got to do a thing. That's why it's so scandalous. That's why it makes everybody who's in Jesus sometimes so angry. Because you end up becoming like the older brother. Let's read that. You ready? So now you think this is the end of the story, right? Oh, the son is home. Everything's good. Everyone's so happy. Lots of love. But there's another character here. Verse 25. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. The servant says, your brother has come home, he replied, and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound. Verse 28, the older brother became what? Angry and refused to go in. So his father had to go out, went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this, hear this, when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you killed a fattened calf for him. And this is what the father replies with, my son, the father said, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because your brother, this brother of yours, was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. Got to remember, the older brother gets 2/3 of the inheritance, the younger brother gets 1/3. So now, this older brother comes in from the field, he hears a party. What's going on? It's a party. What's happening? Oh, your brother's home. Oh, my brother's home? Okay. Oh, and your father, by the way, killed the fattened calf. Whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This young man goes and squanders 1/3 of my father's wealth. The rest of it is mine. Like the rest of everything is mine. It's not his, it's mine. So why is my dad going around actually cutting up stuff that is mine for this brother that actually wished he was dead? This makes no sense. So he refuses to go into the party. So the dad actually, and this is another humility piece, like this dad, all the people listening to this were like, this dad is crazy. He goes outside and pleads with him to come inside to actually celebrate. And the guy says, look, no, what are we talking about? This guy wished that you were dead. And you're throwing a party for him? By the way, with my resources, that's my inheritance you're killing there. I've done everything you've ever asked for me. I've never disobeyed you. I've never gone against you. But this son of yours comes home and you go and do this? What is the matter with you? And the dad says, look, hey. And I thought the one funny thing is, he says, you know, you've never even given me a goat to go party with my friends. How dare you? Which is funny, because one, he's actually getting upset about a fattened calf, saying that is his, but then he tells his dad, you've never even given me a goat. Well, is it yours or is it not? Which one is it? And the dad says very clearly, the father at the end says, my son, the father said, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. This older brother got caught in the same lie as the younger brother. He thought all of his goodness, if he just did everything that he was supposed to be doing, never disobeyed, was, typical firstborn kid. That his dad would be pleased with him. That's the thing that would cause his dad to be pleased with him and want to give him more stuff. You notice the root for both sons is stuff? The one wants the father's things, not the father, right? The younger guy. And the older guy wants the father's things, so he acts good to get it, but he doesn't actually want the father. And we always go after the younger brother, like, oh, what a guy. I can't believe that guy. Why would he do that? That's crazy. But this older brother is doing everything with the wrong motivations, just so he can get the stuff. And when the father uses the stuff the way that he wants to use it, because he's not dead yet, he gets offended. How dare you waste and squander my inheritance on this guy? Whether you know it or not, there are some of us who have been in faith for a long time that have an older brother mentality. That's why you're seeing whole movements right now, like the deconstruction movement in the early 2000s. It was the emerging church. Like there's all of these spaces where people are like, well, you know what? Like I'm questioning everything about my faith because I did everything you wanted, God, and it didn't turn out the way you said it would. So now you owe me. Right, we see this all the time. So one of the most common things is from the purity movement. Okay, anybody remember this purity movement? 90s? Yeah, Joshua, forget his name. I Kissed Dating Goodbye. You remember this book? Okay, if you don't bother. It was a horrible book. This guy he was all about courtship. You know, you need to court. You need to do these things. You got to do that. And it was always about like, and if you just save yourself for marriage, when you get married, your sex life is going to be amazing. Jelly beans will come out from under the bed. Angels will sing in the corners of the room like Cupid. You will get stuck with arrows all day. And everything's going to be perfect. And a lot of people in the 90s, a lot of students, I was one of them, we did all the right things. And you know what? That's not how it turned out. If you just do all the right stuff, God's going to bless your life and nothing bad will ever happen. So people did it. They just did all the right stuff. But you notice what the motivation was? If you do the right stuff, you will what? Get something. It wasn't about God. It was about his stuff. And so people did it, and they were like, yes, I will do it. And they held on to things, and they did stuff to the best of their ability, and they believed all of the things. I don't smoke, I don't cheat, I don't do all of this other stuff. That's great. And then their lives were still hard. And then they looked up at God, and by the way, David did this too inside of the scriptures, and he says, where are you? I've been faithful. I've done everything I should, and yet what? You're not going to give me what I need when I need it? How dare you, God? I've done it. I've lived it. I've suffered for you. And it's still not working out for me. And the attitude is, you owe me. But can I be honest with you? Does God owe you anything? No, he doesn't. And we say that, and yet when we follow and when we suffer and we do all the things that Jesus tells us to do, when it doesn't go our way, we say, well, it must not be true. You must not love me. You must not want the best for me. And we become the older brother. Folks, what does the father say to the older brother? Listen, you've always been with me. Everything that is mine is yours. You have access to it. So why are you not celebrating the fact that this brother of yours is back? This should be a celebration day, and yet the older brother made it about himself. And so often, the reason why many of us struggle in our faith, or you're seeing a whole movement of people saying, you know what, forget God, doesn't matter. I did it all. I did everything right. And look how my life turned out. The reason why people are there is because they've made it about who? About them. It's not actually about God. And if you're here today and you're struggling and you thought, I've done everything. I've done it. I can't believe God's not with me. I can't believe that God's not, following through with what he said. You have to decipher whether it was God that said it or it was some pastor that said it at some point. And God bless those pastors, but ultimately, was it biblical? Because a lot of people have a lot of fun times putting their own ideas into the text. It's the first thing you learn in Bible college. And yet, so many of them take the word of God and they import their own opinions and thoughts onto it, and they say, then they pass it out. What it should be is, oh, what does the word say? I internalize it, and then I share it. Now, was what they said wrong? I would say no. However, how they shared it with people was they gave folks false hope in things that should not have been given. Because how many times you read the Bible and righteous people that do the righteous things, it all works out for them. They get the house, they get the car, they get the girl, or the man, maybe. Their kids are perfect. They're in love for 75 years, and their dog never dies. That's not real. That's not real. So this morning, the challenge to all of us is, which brother are you? I'll tell you who I am, okay? I'm the younger brother. We're all the younger brother. But when it comes to what keeps me away from God, lots of times it's me. Because I know who I am. I know who I am when my head hits the pillow at night. I know the stuff I've done. I know where I have fallen short. And most times where I struggle, to be honest, this is why I say I struggle with this portion of Scripture. Where I struggle every day is saying to God, hey, I'm good enough to be a son. My thing personally is I'm good enough to be a servant. I know that. But every day I feel like I got to earn something else. And every day God's got to look at me and put his arms around me and say, no, you're already there. For me, that's for me. Now I have family members, they're the older brother. God has to remind them every day that you've got me. I'm here. I'm not far away from you. But you're getting in your own way because you think your goodness is so good that I owe you. And I don't. And the only way that you will progress in your Christian life, the only way that you will actually move where you want to move to is when you get rid of the stuff that God can provide and you focus down on just being with God. Both brothers need to stop being obsessed with the gifts and need to start being obsessed with the gift giver. This morning, I think we can all agree God's got some good stuff, right? He's got some good stuff. But his stuff will come and go. It will look very different in each one of our lives. But the issue is, do you want the stuff or do you want God? Which one? And that's really what this parable is about. That your badness is not so bad that it will keep you from God, and your goodness is not so good that it can't potentially make you lost as well. Because look at the way the story ends. We don't know. It doesn't end. You know what I mean? All we know is that the dad had something to say to the older son. That's it. We don't know if it reconciled. We don't know if it went good. It's just a parable. But the point is, the son, the older son, is lost. He has lost connection with his dad. But he's good. And the bad one gains the connection with his dad. So today, which one are you? I can't tell you who you are. That's up to the Holy Spirit to tell you. But we all are one of the two. And so do you want the gifts or do you want God? And this morning, I'll leave that with you, okay? Let's pray. Jesus, thank you for your grace and your mercy. Lord, this is a big story, and it's a story that actually reflects, I think, all of humanity in some way. Some of us think we are so bad that we don't deserve to be your sons or your daughters. All we deserve to be is servants. Lord, I pray for that group of people that you would cause us to absolutely see this in a different light. That our badness is not enough to keep us away from you. That you look at it and you say, I don't care, it's about grace and I love you. And ultimately, it's the love that you have for us that will change our hearts and move us into being obedient sons and daughters. For that group of people, which I'm included in, Lord, remind us every day that you love us, that you're for us, and that even though we think that we have to earn our way back to you, that you just say that you are. You're my son, you're my daughter. Just live in that. For those of us, Lord, that would identify with the older brother, I've done everything right. And right now I am struggling in my faith because I've done everything right and life didn't show up or do or end up being what I thought it would. I was promised a lot of things. That if I just kept my nose clean, if I, didn't sin in these particular ways, if I, just did X, Y, Z and did all this other stuff, that my life would be good, and yet my life is not good. And I'm here for what is owed to me. Lord, remind those people today that you don't owe them anything. That the access that they have to you, the very fact that they are in your presence, the very fact that they someday have a hope that other people don't have is enough. That you will take care of them, that you love them, that you're for them, that just because there's a snag doesn't mean that you've abandoned them. Lord, I pray that you would cause those people to see that they are loved and cared for. For both sets of people, God, I pray that we would be less about the stuff that you can provide to us and more about the God that loves us. Father, help us to get to know you, to know your heart, to know the way that you think, to know the things that motivate you, the stuff that actually causes your heart to jump with joy. Help us, Lord, to get into your word, to hear from your spirit, to understand it when we live in community together. So today, Lord, we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.